Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got an interesting show for you. Let's get right into it. All right, is the media finally understanding and getting it when it comes to the Vols, and can we trust them? Boy, I'm telling you, it was a hot one today. It's still hot out there. Good grief. It said 106 on my car. Now, granted, that was out in the sun, but it was in the mid to high 90s all day. It was so hot, I saw a dog chasing a cat, and they were both walking. Okay, that wasn't very good. I know, it's a dad joke. Anyway, we're going to get into this because I'm starting to hear some media types that I think understand the Vols offense, and it's kind of surprising me. Most of them talked, it's a gimmick, it's a system, it's blah, blah, blah. I'm starting to hear a different tune from these folks. Like they're starting to get a little nervous that maybe there's something real here. And there obviously is. But I'll show you a few examples of what I'm talking about. Now, this first fella, he's on Crane & Company, but he actually was a guest on Southeastern 14, which I guess they'll have to change their name to Southeastern 16 and 18 and 20 and whatever we're going to be over the next several years. But anyway, this is a very interesting interview. And this Jake Crane fella, I think he's starting to understand what the Vols are doing. This is one of the better explanations that I've heard as far as trying to stop our offense, which in my mind is the best offense in the country. I absolutely love it, but listen to what he thinks.
Heupel's offense at Tennessee is the third one. I, am intrigued by this because you as a football coach, a purist, you're going to get what I'm about to say. Some people will raise their eyebrow like The Rock when I say this, but at its purest form in certain elements of it, it's triple option football, but slinging it through the air. You see what I'm saying? Because you're spreading guys out, making them choose, okay, you're going to take away the dive or you're going to take away this over here, when we stretch it on the other side of the field. Of course, they have the vertical game to it. But with the wide spread, the wide splits that they have with the receivers, the tempo, all this kind of stuff, is this thing a gimmick that is going to be figured out in a couple years when it comes to these SEC coaches? Or is this something that can be sustained at Rocky Top for years to come? Or is it just a cyclical thing based on what players you have?
I think that the term gimmick to me, I always laugh because, like, when you hear gimmick, I feel like a lot of people use that term when something's working that's different than what they're used to seeing. I mean, I heard it with Gus Malzahn all the time. Oh, look at all the gimmicks he's running. Well, it worked for a long time. Defenses always catch up. Right, in every sport, in basketball, in baseball, in football, defenses eventually, and that doesn't mean they catch up all the way, but they adjust to a point where they can combat it. But here's the thing. Josh Heupel has mixed the Art Briles splits, what he kind of started in that revolution of changing the alignment, messing with the dividers of the DB, because if you change alignment, you change spacing. If you change spacing, you change the norm of how they're used to lining up against certain formations. Kind of throws a wrench in it, right? It's like a guy that throws a 94-mile-per-hour slider. Good luck. Like, it's just tough. But he mixed that with obviously the tempo and then the true purest form of an RPO. Now, what I always say, the hardest part about figuring it out is what they're doing. But there's not a great answer because you can't play with 12 guys. And I always laugh because people say, Josh Heupel runs fast to wear the defense out, to get them tired. That's not the main reason you do it. That's one of the best side effects of it.
See, he's starting to understand it. It's not about wearing out the defense. He's going to get into the heart of it right here in just a second. This is one of the few guys I've seen that actually seems to understand it.
Good answer. I like the way you think. I'm going to be watching you.
And you're going through fall camp. It gets them in even better shape. But the main point of it is, it's going so fast, you don't have time to adjust or disguise things. And a lot of times, it's going so fast that it catches you in base. That's all you can do. You can't sit here and say, all right, we're going to do this and then roll to this. You don't have time. They're going at warp speed. So if I know what you're in, and I know you can only have a couple adjustments to it, right? It's a battle between how many different plays can Josh Heupel and them on offense run at that warp speed, and how many different coverages and fronts and movements and alignments can you have to combat it? Well, when you're going that fast, it's hard to communicate that. The offense is at a huge advantage. So if I know you're in base a ton, it's almost predetermined where I'm going to go with the ball. But since it's an RPO action and you have to defend both, you can't just sell out against the run because they can always pull it and pop it. So what's your answer to it? Try and put in as much as you possibly can? Okay, that looks great on paper. That's great during practice. But when you go in the game and they're going faster than Captain Kirk and the guys in the Star Trek shit when they hit a wormhole, you don't have time to be doing all this stuff. You know, you're going to look like you're just going nuts over there, like you're trying to land a plane that's out of control.
And now he's getting ready to really hit it on the head, what you have to do to stop the Vols. He'll hit it on the head here in just a minute, besides the fundamental stuff, which good luck. But here's how you stop it.
Now, I think where you beat this is in the offseason on the recruiting trail. That's where you have to beat it. You have to get dudes that are better than their dudes, and that's why Georgia was able to shut them down last year, because Georgia could play the run, which people have a misconception. Heupel wants to run the football. That is what he wants to do.
Downhill offense. That's exactly.
Yeah, he wants to run the football, and Georgia was able to stop the run with lesser or equal numbers in the box, and because they could do that, then Tennessee couldn't do what they wanted to do.
It's like it's Jim's and Joe's, right? It's Jim's and Joe's.
Yep, he just nailed it right on the head. You've got to have a ton of 5-stars on defense, and you'd better be playing at home, where you've got the crowd screaming at our offense, so we go offside 6, 7, 8 times. Because if you play at Neyland and we're rolling, even if you've got a bunch of 5-stars like Alabama did, we're still going to score on you. Look what we did to LSU. They had plenty of talent. It's just Georgia had the perfect mix of a fantastic defense, superior talent as far as athletes, and they had the crowd confusing us with the screaming and the yelling, which we do in Neyland. So, you know, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So anyway, those two guys, they're pretty much spot on. They understand the offense. It kind of surprised me. You don't see that a whole lot, but you're starting to see more and more of people getting away from the gimmick line, because I don't see it as a gimmick at all. As soon as I saw it in 2021, I was like, this is magical. This is amazing. More of this, more of it, and faster. Now, speaking of gimmick, Mr. Gimmick himself has actually done a 180 and has completely seen the light.
I am a believer in Josh Heupel's offense. I am. And I'm leaning towards it being a plug-and-play type of thing like Ohio State has.
Yeah, yep, that's right. Mr. Gimmick, the guy that was calling it a gimmick for the last 2 years, he's come around. He's seen it for what it is. And this is a guy that's not a UT fan by any stretch, as you know. Uncle Lou. Don't say that name 3 times in a row. He's like Beetlejuice. He'll just show up. And lastly, we've got one more media type that we're going to talk about that I think he's starting to understand this whole thing with Joe Milton.
Joe Milton is going to be the starting quarterback for Tennessee. We've known that for some time now. We saw him just do numbers like he's Goodwill Hunting in the Orange Bowl against Clemson. He's going to be the guy. I want us to make sure we're all on guard against this thought when he starts rolling. If he does start putting up big numbers, people are going to be very quick to say, outside of Knoxville, Joe Milton is a system guy. Joe Milton, he's just a benefactor of what Josh Heupel's drawn up with that offense. Like, yeah, that's nice as putting up numbers, but he's a system guy. Couple things incorrect with that statement. The first is it just doesn't make sense. Like, to call a quarterback a system guy, every quarterback plays in a system. Any offensive coordinator worth their salt is trying to put a favorable situation for their quarterback in 11-on-11 football. You're trying to create matchups. You're trying to make his life easier. You still ask a lot of him, but if you're not putting your quarterback in position to succeed as an offensive coordinator, what are you doing, man? What are we even drawing this up for during the week? What are we game planning for? To make his life difficult? Don't think so. All right, so that's the first part of this. The other part of this is the offense for Josh Heupel goes through the quarterback. Like, there's kind of this narrative out there that it's so quarterback friendly. You just line it up, plug and play whoever you want in there, go ahead and slice and dice, you'll be good to go. It's not the reality. This system, yes, it creates matchups. Yes, they work the boundaries a lot. Yes, they play with the hashes, 100%. But even so, this offense goes extremely quickly, high tempo, meaning as a quarterback, you got to be on it, man. It is NASCAR fast. We got to be quick. We got to be good with everybody getting lined up. We got to know the play call. We got to deliver the protection. I mean, we got to do everything as the quarterback to make sure that we're all on the same page as we snap the ball in under 20 seconds. Quarterback is extremely responsible for what happens in this offense. Last thing, too, Joe Milton has played in this offense before. So if you're going to say Joe Milton is a system guy, I would say, well, was he a system guy when he got benched? Was he a system guy when he struggled within this system? You're telling me it's all about the system and Joe Milton's just a non-factor. Well, why didn't he have success his first time around? Argument kind of collapses on itself. See how that works? So,
yep, exactly. If it's strictly a system offense that any quarterback can play in, why did he not make it the first time? Then all of a sudden, when he's got a ton of time to really learn the whole system and really understand it, he gets into the Orange Bowl and plays really well. Throws for 67% completion rate, much higher than the low 50s he was the first time he came around. Throws 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and just plays really smart football. Yeah, it's a system, but you got to know the system and you got to be able to play within it. And if you can't, you will get benched. It's just that simple. So there's another guy that totally gets it. So the media is coming around. They are, and that's kind of strange for the Vols. Normally they just kind of knock us down and they're done with us. And they're used to doing that over the last 10, 15 years. They're having trouble doing that anymore. They're starting to have to come to the conclusion that what Heupel's doing is the real deal. And it's going to have to be dealt with. And it's probably not going to be dealt with for a long time because he keeps evolving the offense and keeps adding wrinkles and making it more difficult. Every time they adjust to him, he's already 1 or 2 steps ahead of them. That's why he's been so successful everywhere he's been. I like to show this graph. These are the touchdowns versus interceptions for all of his quarterbacks. As you can see, a ton more touchdowns than interceptions. And the last couple with Hendon Hooker, 31-3, 27-2. And of course, Joe Milton was 10-0. But even back here, Dylan Gabriel, 34-4, 33-7. Mackenzie Milton, 34-6. Drew Lock, 45-13. So, I mean, it's been successful everywhere he's been. And how about this graph? These are the points scored under Heupel, and these were the points before he got there when he was at Mizzou and became the offensive coordinator. Look at the success there. Then he was at UCF. Then he comes over and takes over Tennessee. We were like 97th in offense. Then we were 7th. Then we were 1st. Everywhere the guy's been, he's had success. So I fully expect him to be successful this year because that would be totally consistent. That would be the 8th straight year. You're going to have 7 straight years of success, and all of a sudden the 8th year you're going to forget how to do it? I don't think so. This is not something defenses are just going to figure out. Georgia figured it out all right. Have 90,000 people screaming at the same time and have a 5-star in every position. And then you can probably handle that offense pretty well. Short of all of those things, you're going to have a tough time. And Georgia's probably going to have a tough time up in Neyland this year. I would expect us to score points. I would. It's not going to be the same. And I do want to talk about my sponsor today of today's video, and that's Sevierville Golf Club. It's the place where I play every week. Course is in great condition. They really take good care of it. They have 2 golf courses there. They have the River and the Highlands. And the River is really for your lower handicap folks, tons of water. I mean, it's difficult. And then you got the Highlands, which is a little bit shorter, a little bit more of a shot maker's course. But both courses will challenge you, and the courses are always in great shape. And they have a terrific practice facility out there. I use it every week.
He's got a beautiful backswing. He got all of that one.
And if you want to putt or chip or work on any part of your game, you certainly can. It's second to none. It's really a nice facility. And if you want to pop in and get something to eat or drink, you certainly can in Mulligan's. They have a very nice restaurant in there with actually have a chef. So be sure to check that out. And remember, it's open to the public. It's called a golf club, but it's open to the public. You can just give them a call or you can book online. So be sure to check out Sevierville Golf Club. I highly endorse that golf course, or 2 golf courses. So I did want to cover this. I don't think the media's got the turbo lax out. I just don't. I think we might be able to sort of trust them. Of course, if we start losing, you won't be able to. But anyway, I thought that would be interesting for you to see what everybody's saying out there. And remember, we're only a week away from Virginia, that 12 o'clock game in Nashville, which is really kind of a home court advantage. But I'm getting pretty excited about it. I know you are too. And I expect them to play well and very solid. And I expect the defense to be much improved with tremendous depth in the secondary. And they've been told how bad they are all year, all offseason by everybody that would tell them that. And there is a lot of anger in that defensive secondary. And you saw what they did against Vanderbilt. After that South Carolina game, they didn't allow a point. And then they shut down Clemson pretty well too. So we'll see what they do in Nashville, but it's going to be exciting. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's remember to continue to cover the Vols, the SEC, and all the goings-ons. If you've not subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Just hit that little button. I would appreciate it. And right over here is the most recent video that YouTube thinks you'll love based on your viewing history. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.